Hello, everybody. What's going on? Good morning or good afternoon. What's happening? This your girl Tiffany. I'm here live in the Fed, right here on Facebook and on YouTube, streaming from both sides. So today I am going to be dealing with a topic about a brother named Solomon Brown. Solomon Brown was a scientific technician. He happened to be one of the first African Americans to be, or he was the first African American to be employed on the Smithsonian Institution. So anybody that knows about the Smithsonian, it's an institution that deals with scientific literacy, right? So they talk about biology, evolution. They get into like chemistry. They get into like archaeology, any subject matter that dealing with science. That's Smithsonian. Okay, so and they also deal with history as well. So yeah, he happens to be one of the first African American to be employed by them, and he left a legacy behind. He was with them for 54 years. So he came about in 1852. All right, Smithsonian started in 1846. So he was with them for 54 years. And so February the 14th was the day he was born. And nobody ever mentioned him or ever spoke about him, in the history books. So it was my first time ever hearing about him, and I happened to find more information on him as much as I possibly could. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share this biography, and I'm going to share some more information that comes from the Smithsonian website, where you guys can, excuse me, where you guys can look up and find out on your own. All right. So let me go ahead and get started. All right. So, oops. Okay. I hope you guys can see that. All right. So right here, I am on WikiOne, of course. So on the WikiOne website, well, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and switch it up. I'm going to go on the Smithsonian website instead. All right, so I'm right here on their website. Now, who was he? It says Solomon Brown, first African American employee at the Smithsonian Institution. So this is a picture of Solomon Brown right here. All right, that's a picture of him. All right, Solomon G. Brown, who was born in 1829 and he died in 1906. He was the first African American employee at the Smithsonian Institution, serving for 54 years from 1852 to 1906. During his time at the Smithsonian, he held many titles and performed many duties in service to the institution. He served under the first three Smithsonian secretaries, Joseph Henry, Spencer Fullerton Ballard, and Samuel P. Langley. He formed a deep personal friendship with Ballard, which is evident in the letters featured on this page. He also served his community in Anacostia, a part of Washington, D.C., and was a prominent advocate of African American progress. I have engaged in almost every branch of work that is usual and unusual about S.I. Solomon G. Brown. These words, written by Secretary Bard on August the 12th of 1862, encapsulated his long and electorate career at the Smithsonian Institution. In 1902, he wrote a poem commemorating his 50 years at Smithsonian, spanning the institution's formative years. Brown, born a free man when slavery was legal in Washington, D.C., joined the staff of the Smithsonian shortly after it was founded in 1846. Born around 1829, Brown was one of six children. With the unfortunate death of his father in 1833, Brown's chance of attending school and receiving a formal education was over. However, Brown began working for Lambert Tree, assistant postmaster with the D.C. Post Office. It was in this capacity that Brown first met Joseph Henry, the Smithsonian's first secretary. Tree detailed Brown to work with Henry, Samuel B. Morse, and Alfred Vail while they developed the first magnetic telegraph that ran from D.C. to Baltimore, Maryland. All right. So I'm on their website. And there he is right here. He's at the bottom row. Oh, I'm trying to. All right, so there he goes right here at the bottom row. That's Solomon Brown again, and that's the staff. These are the staff at Smithsonian. All right, in 1852, Brown was hired as a general laborer by Smithsonian under Henry. Initially, he built exhibit cases, cleaned and moved furniture for the institution, and shortly became the supervisor of a small group of Smithsonian workers. While working, Brown developed a close relationship with then Assistant Secretary Bard, a naturalist and later secretary of the institution. The two worked together until Bard's death in 1887. Bard trusted Brown implicitly and went out of town, relied on Brown to be his eyes and ears of the institution. Brown and Bard frequently corresponded by the operation of the Smithsonian, city events, and their personal lives, sharing a wary sense of humor about life. From these letters, we learned that Brown entertained visitors, handled the mail, made travel arrangements, performed clerical duties, and paid the household staff for the Bard family in addition to his other numerous Smithsonian duties. All right. Brown also wrote to Bard during the Civil War, reporting on the events occurring around D.C. and the effects felt by the Smithsonian Institution. He described the dangers of Bard's property and delays in communication from Washington. In 1864, Brown wrote of the Confederate march on the city and his own exemption from the military draft. These letters provided the unique views of a free African American man on the progress of the Civil War as it raged around him. Although he lacked a formal education, Brown was considered a Renaissance man. Indeed, he was so widely respected for his many accomplishments that he was known as Professor Brown. While working for Bard, he educated himself in the field of natural history. He illustrated maps and specimens for many of Bard's lectures, as well as his own talks on topics such as the social habits of insects, and delivered them to church organizations and civic groups. Not only did he excel as a naturalist, but he was an illustrator, a lecturer, a philosopher, and poet. Brown also read his poetry, which focused on religion and the social issues of the day, to local audience and civic organizations. After Bard's death in 1887, Brown served as a clerk for the Smithsonian International Exchange Service, distributing scholarly publications around the world. Brown's activity also reached beyond the walls of Smithsonian within his own Anacostia Hisdale community. Brown was viewed as a leader. Brown and his wife Lucidina hosted picnics for their local community, one of which was attended by Frederick Douglass. He was elected to the D.C. House of Delegates, served as superintendent of the Pioneer Sabbath School and the North Washington Mission Sunday School, and was a trustee on the 15th Street Presbyterian Church. He was committed to bettering education and gaining opportunities for African American citizens. A man of limitless energy, Solomon G. Brown continued to work at the Smithsonian, write and draw, as well as serve his community until his retirement on February 14, 1906. Not long afterwards, Brown died at his home on June 24, 1906. Over a century has passed, yet Brown's devotion to the foundation of Smithsonian is still remembered today. In 2004, several trees were planted around the National Museum of Natural History in his honor. All right. So that's the information that was posted on the Smithsonian website, and you can look it up for yourself right here. Okay. Hello, what's going on? Peace. What's up, brother? Been a while. All right, so let's see if I can find anything else on WikiOne. All right, so I'm gonna go on WikiOne. Hey, peace, Sister Courtney. How you doing? All right, so let's see what we can find on here. What else have he accomplished in his lifetime? All right, so down here where it says outside the Smithsonian, Brown was an activist who volunteered in civic and educational programs to help African American community. He was the founder of the Pioneer Sabbath School in Washington, D.C., and was also the superintendent of the North Washington Mission Sunday School. He helped organize the Pioneers Sunday School Association in the Hillsdale neighborhood and was superintendent of the association from 1868 to 1888. Brown, along with Fred Smoot and Mark McKenzie, were early settlers and civic leaders of Hillsdale neighborhood, which was created on the land of the former Berry Farm under the supervision of the Freedmen's Bureau. He was a trustee of Wilberforce University, of the 15th Street Presbyterian Church, I said that before, and of the D.C. Public School. He was the superintendent of the North Washington Missionary School and an active member of Freedmen's Relief Association. He was also commissioner of the poor in the county of Washington. All right, so it says he was elected as president of the National Union League in 1866, which was a political organization in the South of the United States for African Americans. He served 3 terms as a Republican member of the House of Delegates for Washington, D.C. from 1871 to 1874. He represented all the people who lived in Anacostia. He was the first member to be certified by the governor of Washington, D.C., Henry D. Cook. All right, so it also said that he was a member of the numerous Lyceum, included the Galbraith in D.C. and the St. Paul Lyceum in Baltimore, and gave frequent lectures on scientific questions in Baltimore, Alexandria, and Washington, D.C. His first lecture were in January 1855 and was presided by Enoch Ambush, who later promoted Brown as a speaker. Brown gave lectures over subjects from incest to geology to the telegraph. Brown created the diagrams used in the lectures, and in connection with these, he prepared or assisted in preparing nearly all the important diagrams for scientific lectures given at the Smithsonian during his tenure there. He was an officer in the District Grand Lodge of Masons and was an assistant honorary commissioner of the color department of the 1884 New Orleans Exposition World's Fair for DC. He was director of the Industrial Saving and Building Association of Washington, D.C., and the Washington correspondent of the Anglo-African Christian Recorder when it was edited by Bishop Henry McNeil Turner. He also edited the column Sunday School Circle of the Christian Index, a publication from Jackson, Tennessee. Brown was also a part of the National Black Leadership Committee that arranged for the unveiling of Thomas Ball's sculpture Emancipation Memorial Monument in Washington's Lincoln Park. There was a large group of people who attended the unveiling, such as President Ulysses S. Grant and Frederick Douglass. Brown spent some time writing poetry, in which some appeared in the local African American newspapers, such as the Washington Bee. All right, so he was married to Lucidina on June 16, 1864. They did not have children themselves, but they had a large family of nieces, some they adopted, and boarders, which included William J. Simmons. Together, they would have picnics for their local community. All right. And so down here, it says when the National Museum of African American History and Culture opened in 2016, it named its fifth floor council and conference lounge space the Smithsonian G. Brown Room. All right. So, and here, even on WikiOne, which is another version of Wikipedia, you can go ahead and find out more information. All right. As you can see right here, it says enslaved labor and building the Smithsonian's, reading the stones. Kind of regards of S.G. Brown, selected poems of Solomon G. Brown. So it's a lot of information that can be found on here. Uh-oh. Hold on. Okay, so somebody put on this day, 1804, New Jersey was the last northern state to gradually emancipate. Wow. I didn't even know that history. That was interesting. Thank you for sharing that, Sister Courtney. Thank you. Let me see something. All right. All righty, then. As you can see right here, also under the Smithsonian Institution archives. Let me blow this up. So it's a newspaper article that came out on June 16 of 2004. Okay. So it says Smithsonian honors a Black pioneer. All right. So it's giving account on his life and his legacy. And so I'm trying to blow it up. Okay, let me see if I can. I don't know if I can blow this bottom part up. It won't let me. But basically, right here in the news article, all right, so right here it says, hired in his early 20s, Brown started out as a laborer building exposition cases and preparing maps. He became a skilled clerk. He was comfortable around the bustling science work, the principal focus of the Smithsonian of that time, and educated himself by natural history. Eventually, Brown was invited to speak to scientific societies in the regions and prepare the diagrams for his own talks, as well as the Smithsonian scientists. The Smithsonian, however, was only one part of his life, and his activism in local politics and church organization and his enormous output of poetry made him one of the city's best known black men in the 19th century. Okay, so that's it right here. All right, this is the paper. This is the article that was written in 2004. All right, so and then this is his poetry book called Kind Regards of S.G. Brown. All right, these are the collection of poems that he wrote, and that was compiled together. All right, so let's look at one of his poems that he written. So that's the introduction, etc. Let's go down. All right, so this poem is called Say John, I Heard the Other Day. Say John, I heard the other day from Sister Phoebe Perry. The Hillsdale folk across the way will go to the Harper's Ferry. When do they go and on what date? I think I can remember. Oh, yes, I heard our preacher say the 5th day of September. Of course, you know I will be there and bring my wife and daughter if I can only raise the fare $1.25. And then here's the second one that he wrote. I don't think I want to read it. All right, so I'm just going to skip that second one, but here's another one right here. Worthy the lamb that was slain. On the mountaintops, the baking lights are kindled by the rosy flush that tells the day is born. Height to height replies as up the waiting heavens comes the rising sun that hurls Easter morn, smiles the earth arrayed in robes of living vendors, singing the birds on leafy bow, a joyous strain. Nature joins with man in praise and adoration, saying, Worthy is the lamb that was slain. In their channels leap the streams with throbbing pulses. Life renewed is in each whisper of the breeze. All the little twigs and shoots are stirring softly with the life that animates the waving trees. Overhead, the cloudless skies is brightly bending. Sunbeams rest alike on grassy hill and plain. Earth and heaven are lighting up their glad thanksgiving, saying, Worthy is the lamb that was once slain. Bring no spices to anoint the dead, ye mourners. From the grave, the stone of griefs is rolling away. Over death and hell, the Savior rose triumphant on the morning of the resurrection day. Seek him not within the tomb, for he is risen. Jesus is not here. Behold, where he has lain. Look above while angels swell the joyous anthem, saying, Worthy is the lamb that once was slain. Okay. Hallelujah. For the crucified is risen. Let the earth rejoice. The mountains clap their hands. Let the floods be glad and offer up thanksgiving. Hallelujah. Oh, be joyful, all ye hand. Oh, excuse me, all ye lands. Sing aloud for joy, all nations, all people. Angels and archangels swell the loud refrain. With the blood bought millions cast your crown before him, saying, worthy is the lamb that once was slain. All right. All right, so that's just his poetry book. I'm not going to read anymore, but if you guys want to look into this, look under the Smithsonian Archive, and you can just download his download this poetry book. You know, it's just a selective of poems that he has written and that was compiled together into one book. So obviously he had a bunch of poems, but they couldn't put it all together. So they just could gather the ones they could, and they thought that was necessary that the readers should look into. But anyways, yeah, just check out Kind Regards of S.G. Brown. The selected poems of Solomon G. Brown. And it tells you who compiled it. Compiled by Louise Daniel Hutchinson and Gail Sylvia Lowe. All right. All right, then. So that'll be all for today. And I thank every last one of you for coming on here and tuning in and watching and listening and doing all this great stuff. So, and I want to thank those who have been subscribed to my channel, who have shared my channel, who have subscribed, who have hit the notification bell, who like my channel and all that great stuff. Thank you for sharing my video contents. Make sure you guys check out more if you haven't. So until then, I'll reconnect with you all later. So shout out to Sister Courtney, shout out to Brother Sir for coming on here and watching and being very supportive. Thank you so much. You know, check out Sister Courtney. She got a channel, so go look on her channel. You know, she got a lot going on over there. So I just want to thank her. And I want to thank numerous of people. And make sure you guys also check out Team Osiris if you haven't. Check out Brother Consul. He doing his thing. He did a last video about metaphysics. So you guys need to go ahead and check that out. And also check out my brother Malik Kamara. He has a channel called Descendant of Mali. Descendants of Mali. So make sure you guys check his channel out. It's on YouTube. He does a good job going into the history about Africa, West Africa, and Central Africa, and all that great stuff, talking about the spirituality, the culture, the history in itself. You guys need to check those, check out his YouTube channel. And that's it. So until next time, everybody take it easy. And may peace be to all of you. And this your girl Tiffany, and I'm out. And have a good day. All right.